Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube talking about knife stuff, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I've been off kind of doing my own thing, and recently kind of gotten a little bit back into it, and picked up a couple of knives recently, and one of which I want to talk about today. This is a knife from Brian Brown, and it is a Raptor. This is the V3, made by Reate in China. And I know my first reaction is China, you don't really care for Chinese-made knives, but Reate makes really great stuff. They are one of the few Chinese knives I would ever consider owning, and man, they're fantastic. Just objectively, they do the best fit and finish that you can ask for. They have some of the best designs. It's impressive work from top to bottom, and it will rival anything made anywhere else in the world. This thing is really nice. So Brian Brown is a knife designer. Of course, this is basically kind of like a mid-tech. There is a growing, I'd say it's been growing for years, trend where a lot of custom makers will send their knives over to China to have them produced as a production knife. I don't necessarily know whether or not Brian actually makes his own knives. I think he's more of a designer. And so from that perspective, this is a pretty interesting knife. It is an integral, which is pretty sweet. I've made integrals before. They're an absolute pain in the butt to make. At least they were certainly on my tooling. I used to make integrals, the Mark 12s, way back in the day, 2011 time frame, so almost 15 years ago. And they had a lot of setups. Building that on a Haas, I'm sorry, not a Haas, a Tormach PCNC 1100 was difficult to do, let alone one without an automatic tool setter or automatic tool changer. Very difficult. But this one is very special. So this one is with a Damasteel blade. I don't remember the name of the Damasteel pattern, but check that out. It's beautiful. Damasteel is, I believe it's RWL34 is the actual cutting surface. It's a layered steel where you've got layers of steel that have high amounts of nickel in it, layered in and out of a regular stainless steel. And of course, when you dunk the stainless steel into acid, usually muriatic acid or some kind of ferrochloric acid, pull it out and it leaves one part of the steel etched and the other part polished. This is done with a satin finish, which is kind of interesting. Normally you would do this with a high polish, but this is more muted, and they've done that purposefully. You can actually tell if you look very closely. Let me see if I can zoom in just a smidge here. You can actually kind of see some of the scrape marks where this has been hand satin finished, and then they've dunked it into that acid to reveal the acid, reveal the layers in the steel. Very pretty, very, very pretty. Looks like Damascus or some kind of ZircuTi thumb studs. Not a crown spine, but that's okay. This would be very difficult to crown, by the way. This is kind of, Mike Snowdy used to call this a Gotham Bowie. So it's kind of a double batwing sort of Bowie thing here where you've got a scallop out of the clip point and then another scallop here coming to the actual eventual point. But it's interesting, this is a Tonto, but it's a single edge bevel, which is really cool. I heard that originally when they started to do the prototypes for this particular knife, that this was apparently a very difficult blade shape for them to pull off. I've ground knives like this before, and I gotta tell you, it's hard for a machine to do, but it's not that hard for a human. Now, if you're hand grinding, it's another story completely. But this is not a hand ground blade, this is machine ground. So getting that level of precision in the actual edge bevel here is kind of tough. But you can see the way that they've achieved this is they've got a nice hollow grind here, and they've done it at a little bit of an angle from the base of that blade grind. And that basically gives you this eventual edge bevel here where that hollow kind of meters out into a secondary tapered edge. Really cool. On the back, Brian's logo, which you can see there. Very subtle. Actually, with the Damasteel, it's pretty subtle. On the satin finish versions of this, or the ones that have PVD, much more intrusive. I personally do not like large logos on anything. I think it takes away from the overall aesthetic. If you're going to do it in some kind of tonal, sort of etch, right? So I used to do it with a diamond engraver on a pantograph. This is done with a laser etching, which is valid. I mean, this is a perfectly fine way to do things. I really dislike acid etching, but this is not acid etch. This is a laser engraver. Looks pretty good, though. I actually really like this particular one. You'll notice ZircuTi inlays here for the over travel stop, which we'll come back to in just a second. We've got a nice pocket clip here machined out of ZircuTi. A little bit on the thin side, though. That's one thing that does concern me just a smidge. No lanyard loop, which is perfectly fine by me. I do not like lanyards on my knives and never use them. Really nice engagement here on the lock. I mean, it's just perfect. And on top of that, I don't know if you can tell in there. Look at that channel, man. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Just the best machine work. This is what I mean about Reate. Yeah, they're made in China. Who cares? This is made really well. I just don't give a crap where it's made. This is made incredibly well. Notice too that the disengagement's perfectly smooth, no lock stick whatsoever. And once it mounts that ball bearing, it's just glass-like. Very pneumatic feeling. Almost feels like a Chris Reeve or something like that. If you know what I'm talking about, the Chris Reeves all have a feel to them, right? They're very pneumatic. They have this feeling of just bank vault security, and this is the exact same thing. It's really nicely done. The amount of weight on the lock bar is just perfect. We've done a really great job on that. One thing I don't super love about this is it does have a little bit of an indentation right there, right underneath the pocket clip. Now this right here, I used to try and eliminate on my own knives, and actually do this on the inside of the knife, so I'd relieve, when I did the Mark 12s and pretty much all the MKX series, I would do the cutout here for the lock bar relief on the inside of the knife. That was one of those features that I always felt was important because it creates less friction here underneath of your pants pocket. And bear in mind, your pants are going underneath of this pocket clip right up on this area here. But this has this nice kind of high area here where it's mirrored on this side, right? So it's got this tall section here, which is perfectly flat. And your pants are just going to glide over top of that, which is great. For the most part, I mean, I think this is a perfectly fine way to do things. I really don't mind it. ZircuTi pocket clip. It's a little on the thin side. That's the one thing that kind of concerns me a little bit because I worry about this snagging on something and then just bending completely. Now, it's not that hard to re-bend it, and certainly ZircuTi is strong enough to hold up to most things, but it's fairly thin. And you can see how the attachment point here is a single screw. Now, it's recessed into the titanium, which is great. That's going to keep it from rotating, but we're going to have some durability issues here if you catch on something. So just be careful. If you've got one of these things, you just got to be careful with it. But look at the beautiful material. I know other people have really remarked on how great Reate's ZircuTi is. By the way, here's my cat. He's come over to inspect. What do you think, Phoenix? Pretty great, huh? Yeah. All right, bud. You got to get down. So let's compare it to a couple other things. By the way, these absolutely gorgeous display mat and case that I've got for it. These came from Swank Hanks. Peter over there makes absolutely fantastic stuff. I just couldn't be happier with some of the stuff I got from him. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this video was also to show some of this work off too. Look how beautiful this is. This is gorgeous. Let's take a look at another couple of knives here. This is one of my absolute favorite knives. Just give you a size comparison. This is a Shirogorov Hati or Hati. This is one of the Chris Reeve collabs, right? With a beautiful blade here. And you can see this is considerably larger than the Brian Brown Raptor. I thought when I first saw this Raptor it was going to be a little bit bigger than this, but it's not that big. It's a 3.3 inch blade, so it's a little smaller than a Shirogorov. By the way, another one of Peter's cases. Let's take a look at another knife here. This is from Black Snow, another Reate made knife actually. This is the Black Snow. I think they call this like Pirate something or other. I can't remember. This was a E-Knives exclusive, and this one is similar in size to that Brian Brown, so you can see it's a little bit about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller on the Brian Brown. Not too bad, and very similar in thickness. This particular one here, this Black Snow, is a kind of a little bit thicker, I guess, because it's got the scales on the outside, but really nice flipper. This one I've almost cut myself on so many times because of that recurve. It is very, very, very sharp. So really nice knife. Really love this one. And let's take one more here. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, another Reate. This is the Alvin Lee designed Tiger. This one's a chonk, man. Really, really big, sort of modernized Bowie Tonto thing. By the way, can you tell I like this kind of knife? Kind of hollow grind transition to the flat there. Really thick though. This one's a inset liner lock, and but it's full titanium on the handles, and so it's just a really big, meaty, thick, gigantic, girthy knife. Big, thick titanium backspacer. Look how different these things are here. The Brian Brown looks tiny compared to this. It feels tiny compared to this. It's so different. Look how svelte that is compared to the Tiger. I love this Tiger, by the way. I picked this one up secondhand, and it's fantastic. I think it's really, really cool. One of the cooler knives I actually have in my collection, but yeah. So it's funny, I got 3 Reate made knives here, and then one from Shirkorov. But I really, really like the knife. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, you can't get the Damasteel ones anymore. These are sold out. I think this was American Edge. That's where I got it from. Very exclusive. I don't think they made many of these. Maybe it was less than 25 or so. Did come with a COA or whatever that I've got still in the box and all that stuff. But really, really nice knife. However, the satin versions of these are still available on NC Blade, and also I believe there's some PVD ones left over at E-Knives. That's where they have them, and these are really nice. If I were looking for a general purpose utility knife, those are really well made, and you really appreciate the integral. This is also very lightweight. This is sub 4 ounces, so it's shockingly light, actually. Very, very light knife. And it's well balanced too. The balance point's right at the pivot. It's really, really nice. This is a finely made knife. It feels finely made, and it has the refinement of the design that I think you really would want from a knife at this price point. They are available in a couple other configurations. This is my point. Maybe not necessarily the Damasteel, but if you wanted an EDC knife, you probably wouldn't go for the Damasteel either. You'd probably go for something like the satin or the PVD. So they're available. They are great knives, though. So kudos to Brian. Congrats on such a well-implemented knife. The Raptor's been around for a little while, too, by the way. This design in the version 2 and the version 1. This is the version 3. And I like this version 3. I think it's really nice. I think I like this design overall. I really love integrals. So that's one of those things for me personally is just super, super cool. Again, having made them before, I can tell you that it's something that if I can get an integral, I'm in. I think it's the coolest thing. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the version I would go for. It's the version I have, right? So obviously I'd go for this version, but really, really nice. One more deployment for you. Why not? Pretty nice. Great knife. So, like I said, kudos to Brian. Kudos to Reate. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Just keep doing it. This is the stuff, man. All right, and also, by the way, for Peter, I just gotta say, man, please make more of these pouches. Put them up on your website. I have more knives that need pouches. These are beautiful. They're really well made. All sorts of different. He's got a couple different designs here. This one's got micro suede on the inside. It's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous work from him too. I'll end it there. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. And I will be following up with more videos on knives. See you guys later. Bye.